This this is the Chris and Brian with Resolve Technology. Not sure what Brian's doing with his neck over there. You okay? Today we wanted to talk about how to
The
protect.
lighting. It's the lighting.
Oh yeah, it's a little more than lighting going on over there. So we wanted to talk about today. This is something that we know about, but this is a subject that security professionals, IT professionals might talk about. But business owners, there's so much you got to worry about protecting on the network. So like on premise, in the cloud, your SaaS applications, your line of business software, that this usually falls by the wayside, but it's protecting your business and or your brand. So your domain. So like us, it's resolvetech.biz is our website. We own that. We renew it because we use a domain registrar, which in our case is Namecheap, but there's other popular ones out there people heard of. Like GoDaddy probably is the most notorious one, where you can search for the domain you want to purchase and all
Chris,
that
I'll
fun
just
stuff.
chime in. I think that's usually about as much as most owners and management know about domains is, hey, like we have somebody that does the website and we used GoDaddy. After that, they like don't understand all this. So I think that's why this is important. If you can explain like how it affects the brand and potentially security.
So I found this article here, Protecting Your Business. So the first thing they mentioned, which is the first thing that comes to mind for me, is there's an enormous number of lookalike domains registered each year by criminals pretending to be known companies and gain money. So like this could affect, you could get a phishing email from this domain where they set up Microsoft email or Google Workspace email with this fake domain so that they want to present themselves as more presentable. And this also could be bogus websites. And maybe they got a link to your website on this fake website or this malicious website. And say there's a virus on there and people think it's you. Oh, like this is the company we work with. They think it's related to you because there's a link to your site on their page. They could download something and compromise their network, and they'd probably start looking your way. This is just as significant as your website getting hacked and them doing something illegal with it or compromising your customers or stuff along those lines. But there are like the biggest one I notice is this is mostly phishing emails. I see this, but you'll have mycompany.com and they'll do mycompany.com. So like MYYcompany.com. And so there's a typo. That's the biggest one you'll see. And sometimes they try to be very crafty with it, where they choose something that might look in Outlook just like your actual domain, like due to the font Outlook uses or things like that. So a lookalike domain is a type of cyber threat where malicious actors register domain names closely resembling the established companies, like I mentioned, and they might do a subdomain. So a subdomain would be like example.com's your domain. You could have website.example.com. The website part sitting in front of your domain is the subdomain. What they like to do there is, I think it's subdomain deception. So like here's the authentic site is example.com. They use a URL like example.com.theirmaliciousdomain.com. And at first glance, the URL gives them, the end user, the impression that it's going to lead them to your website. So that's one, we don't see that too often, but that's quite a bit of work to set up. Typo squatting. So these are people that, big brands, Apple, Microsoft, they might find new ways to get a typo that might look close enough to fool somebody, essentially. So in their example, I'll zoom in here. They use bigbank.com. Well, they name theirs Big Bank with 2 I's, as you can see here. And the website pretty much looks the same. Because you can inspect, not with WordPress, but there's ways that you can, without them hacking your website, to make it closely resemble your site if they have enough skills in web design or WordPress or whatever you're using. If you're just using a basic WordPress, then it's even like template site, it's even easier for them. But copycatting is the most prevalent method. And the logo and brand name of your company will frequently appear on malicious domains and attempt to fool visitors into thinking they are visiting a legitimate site. And they persuade them like, hey, you're going to have to send us $5,000. It's like the age-old tale. You find a job and you get an email from a recruiter saying, you can start working with us if you give us $5,000 in advance and we'll send over the equipment. Something obvious, but not every time is it so obvious. What I would like
I just want to jump in, Chris, and say It's also easy to just duplicate somebody's site. There are tools you can use to just copy and paste all the code and everything. This is a simple example through the browser, but they have even some automated ones to pull all the information from the site and just
Yeah.
quickly set up a duplicate site. So, I mean, that has always been out there since the dawn of the internet. There's some web tools that you can use to look up see if your website information is compromised, like maybe your blog information or certain parts of your site. If somebody's reusing your content somewhere, you
Yeah.
can look that up
Yeah, there
with
is
online
tools.
tools.
Yeah, there's a few tools at your disposal to prevent this. One of the basic ones I want to mention is we use a DNS registrar Namecheap. So as you can see in my example, I own or lease it essentially, the cktech.org, and it's auto renewing in 2025. That I just used this for my demo test environment for potential clients, or if we're gonna showcase something. What I wanted to mention though is withheld for privacy. This is for ICANN. So, and who is like, so you can look up the owner of most people's domain. If you don't have this on, they can see your name, address, and an email of who holds this domain. So like for an example, let's do a who is lookup. I'll do it on that one there. And you're not going to see, yep, so this is the data. And what we got is they know it's Namecheap Inc. that I got it there, but they got this redacted for privacy. That's all you see everywhere. And then in my example here, it should look on the, I'm not going to show all my info, but you'll see like registered contact or administrator contact, and it would be in this format. And who knows, they might send, if you don't have domain privacy on, they may try to compromise you via email, reach out to you, tell you they'll give you $10,000 for your domain, because people do buy domains that they might not use. Some businesses might emerge from 3 businesses and they still maintain possession of the sister company and things like that.
Chris, we might mention too, I don't know if it's still free on Namecheap, but some registrars, that's a free service. You just have to turn it on so you can hide your registration information. Some registrars will charge for it, but it's usually a small yearly fee to obscure that information.
Yeah. Another thing to mention is like you need to make sure, you know, if you have some kind of internal IT or a lot of smaller businesses have like a website guy who handles their DNS records. Essentially with the DNS records, that's what points wherever your website's hosted on, points to your mydomain.com or example.com. If you don't have multi-factor on it and it was some breach on GoDaddy, they could go in under advanced DNS here and set it to delete the MX record, which is your mail record. Then all of a sudden you have no emails going in and out. They could redirect it to a compromised mail server, or they could redirect your website to a site that might make your company look bad or to a competitor. It's very important to secure this. This is often overlooked by majority of people. They just have a website guy or some Moonlight IT guy that handles all this.
Would you recommend having a second factor on this
Yes.
website?
Yeah. And if you're in a now this happens with us. We have clients where somebody set up the website with GoDaddy, or they're still using cPanel, whatever it is. And you need multiple people. There's some kind of collaborative effort where IT might need to get in there, but maybe the web designer needs to get in there. Or maybe someone that's doing a campaign marketing for you needs to get in there because he's doing some email form submission thing on your website. Most of them allow you to create sub accounts, and you'd want to make sure that you turn on MFA on all those as well. Like what we usually do is if we take over a client and they use GoDaddy, essentially I create a sub account. I'll walk the end user, whoever it's tied to over there, I'll walk them through adding a sub account, give us administrative privileges. That way I can manage the domain and adjust records as needed.
All right. All right, Chris, I think quite a lot of information to digest, but I just think it's good information because, yeah, usually other than knowing where they registered the domain, sometimes they don't even know that. They don't know much about how all this stuff works. So that's great info. All right, we'll see you later.